SCP-001 Null Sum Proposal, Containment Class Petrus, Disruption Class or Risk Class Tangent. SCP-001 is a complex mathematical formula that uses the value of multiple physical and mathematical constants in conjunction with SCP-001-1 to calculate the value of SCP-001-2 in a rational number. -1 is a semi-hazardous element in SCP-001, which in all versions of SCP-001 known to the Foundation is already populated with a numerical value or formula that does not correspond to a physical or mathematical constant. The position of -1 as well as its predefined value is unknown. Whenever the value of -2 is calculated, baseline reality is retroactively altered such that the value of -1 is and always has been true. The value of -2 is unchanged. The value of all other mathematical and physical constants used in SCP-001 are altered to compensate for the above. This property only manifests if the only altered value is SCP-001-1. It is theorized that a successful activation of SCP-001 could be identified when an improbably large number of errors become apparent after -2 is calculated, with the errors corresponding to the constant's former values. SCP-001 and all information regarding it was acquired by the informant Ulysses from GOI 4379, a previously unidentified religious faction that is attempting to calculate a -1 value, which will result in the complete retroactive erasure of everything within SCP-001's range of influence. Addenda. Summary of Ulysses' report on GOI 4379. GOI 4379 is an unnamed covert religion whose central dogma dictates that existence is a self-perpetuating cosmic imbalance and that non-existence is preferable, morally perfect, and divine. The religion operates as a global collective of semi-independent cells with no unifying command structure, leaders, or scriptures. While individual cells freely borrow and share information between each other, all adherents of GOI 4379 expressly reject attempts to organize the religion beyond its current state. Members of GOI 4379 frequently use the numerical value 0 and its properties to represent various desirable aspects of non-existence, including multiplication by 0 universally produces a value of 0, representing non-existence as incorruptible, capable of subsuming all other states of being. A value of 0 is produced whenever a number is added to its negative, demonstrating non-existence as a perfect state of balance, and consequently, everything else being imperfect and unstable. 0, positive 0, and negative 0 are all equal in value, further demonstrating non-existence's perfect balance, being its own and only opposite. Depending on the adherent's mathematical knowledge, either division by 0 being the opposite of multiplication produces all other numbers simultaneously, illustrating non-existence as the origin of all things. The indivisibility of 0 being representative of non-existence's incorruptible perfection. 0, when physically represented through an absence of matter, is infinitely divisible, able to be equally shared between any number of groups and any number of times, with each group receiving a portion equal to the original whole, displaying the endless capacity of non-existence and its ability to be equally experienced by all. The sum of every enclosed system is always 0, as defined by Newton's third law, representing non-existence as being self-enforcing, incorruptible, and inescapable once achieved. Ensuing from these beliefs, members of GOI 4379 perceive all forms of existence as an undesirable cosmic imbalance, which they are morally required to correct. That is, the essential objective of GOI 4379 is the complete and retroactive erasure of all forms of existence. In macrocosm, adherents perceive their own continued existence as a morally shameful sin, leading to the practice of auto-retrocide, the act of retroactively erasing oneself from history and reality by anomalous means. It is generally accepted among adherents that abstinence from auto-retrocide is acceptable to enable the religion to accomplish its central goal. However, it is known that several members of GOI 4379 have successfully undergone the procedure. It is unknown and potentially impossible to determine how GOI 4379 acquired Null, nor how they determined its anomalous capabilities despite being unable to trigger them. The information they do possess, however, is known to be accurate. Overseer commentary on Ulysses. Ulysses is one of the most productive informants the Foundation has ever had, and there are absolutely no records of who they actually were. The earliest mention of them I have is a council vote from 1972. Several anomalies have been stolen while in transit between facilities, and Ulysses, communicating via 0513 the Shrewd, identified the culprits as the Church of the Broken God sect, and provided enough information for the Cabal Council to vote in favor of retaliation, subsequently regaining most of the lost anomalies. The name Ulysses has kept appearing ever since, disappearing for several years at a time before returning with invaluable intelligence that is almost always true, and on several occasions has been critical in averting an unforeseen imminent collapse of the Foundation. Whoever they originally were, they are long dead by now. I expect that Ulysses is actually an archive within the various 0513s. The only people Ulysses communicates through are browsing through at their own leisure, occasionally picking out items they decide are worth sharing with the rest of the council. It will explain the stranger tendencies shared by all 0513s, but I don't understand why they wouldn't surrender it to record keeping. 0507, the Diligent, Department of Record Keeping. Honestly, I think Ulysses is just a buzzword. 13s slap on the ideas when they want it to grab our attention. It tends to work. 055, the Progressive, Department of Technology. There is a high probability that Ulysses is an alias used by the administrators for direct, anonymous communication. The first known use of the Ulysses identity, 1972, predates the establishment of the administrator, 1985, by a period of only 13 years. It is possible a single individual occupied both identities, potentially using Ulysses as a prototype for the later administrator position, or as a preliminary phase intended to manipulate the members of the Cabal into establishing the administrator through the information it provided. The Ulysses and administrator identities also possess several behavioral similarities. Both are primarily uninvolved with the Foundation's activities, interacting only when necessary, and only for as long as necessary. Both exclusively communicate with the Overseer Council and/or Shadow Cabinet, if one is present. Both demonstrate extensive awareness of events occurring through the veil with complementary focuses. The administrator is aware of events occurring within the Foundation at all times, including information being concealed from them by Foundation personnel, while Ulysses is aware of events occurring outside the Foundation, including information beyond the Foundation's awareness. If correct, it is unclear why the Ulysses identity exclusively communicates via the 0513 position instead of directly communicating with the Overseer position most appropriate for the circumstances. It has been suggested that Ulysses is one of several identities used by the Administrator, with each identity corresponding to a specific Overseer position. It is unclear why this tactic is preferable to a single general identity. And furthermore, the information provided by the Ulysses identity possesses several characteristics that are not found in other informants' communications. 05-02, the Conservative, Department of Finances, Resources, and Statistics. Either 13 is nuts, which should boot him off the council, or Ulysses is anomalous, which should boot him off the council. care what his excuse is, or that of his entire shifty arse department. We are not the Cabal anymore, and we do not use anomalies. Once I get proof, I sure as hell will be keeping his secret. If the rest of the council doesn't sack him for it, I'll find Fritz and get them to sack the whole lot of us. 13's been in that seat for far too long. 0506, the Sardonic, Department of Internal Security. Project Polychrome. Project Serial ZNE P4H20038. 0505, the Progressive, Department of Technology. Purpose: to devise an AIC program, Django, capable of indefinitely producing unique and expendable AIC programs, BOBA, in a manner that the retroactive erasure of a BOBA AIC does not affect the existence or production of the Django AIC. The Django AIC must also be able to learn of and adapt to obstacles encountered by the BOBA AICs without revealing its own existence. Method: to prevent retroactive erasure by GOI 4379 zeroists. All information that could potentially identify participants in Project Polychrome will be destroyed at its conclusion, and all personnel capable of identifying participants will be anesthetized. The existence of Project Polychrome will be concealed from all non-participating personnel, and participating personnel will be prohibited from all contact with non-participating individuals until the project's conclusion. A list of minority groups expected to be present throughout the Foundation's global IT department will be compiled, exclusively using statistics from other global organizations without any reference to internal Foundation records whatsoever. Without prior reference to Foundation records to confirm the accuracy of the list, Mobile Task Force Gamma 1, line left hand, will select a number of groups approximating 15% of the list's total population, assigning each as an arbitrary, anonymous pseudonym. Selected groups with a population of 3 or less may be combined unless the resulting group would exceed 30% of the list's total population. MTF Gamma 1 will then investigate whether the selected groups are present within the Foundation's global IT department. If any of these selected groups are found to have a population of 0, our parties overseeing Project Polychrome must immediately reconvene to discuss the continued viability of the project and/or methods of improving information security to maintain participants' anonymity throughout and following the conclusion of Project Polychrome, as a null population group is potentially indicative of a retaliatory retroactive erasure by GOI 4379 following the conclusion of the project. If all groups selected by MTF Gamma 1 are found to have a population of 0, Project Polychrome will be deemed a failure and immediately discontinued. MTF Gamma 1 will verify that all personnel selected for Project Polychrome have had no prior contact or loyalty to any groups of interest other than the Foundation. All verified personnel will be immediately reassigned to Project Polychrome, temporarily relieved of all their duties and assignments, and separated into their designated groups. False documentation ascribing the reassignment to one of several false projects will be created and freely provided inquiring co-workers to conceal the significance of the reassignments. Each group assigned to Project Polychrome must not be made aware that any other groups are participating and have no contact whatsoever with any individuals except overseeing advisory, Mobile Task Force Alpha 1, Red Right Hand, Beta 1, Blue Backhand, and or Gamma 1 agents and other personnel within their own assigned group. Each group will individually develop a functional Django AIC program to the specifications outlined above, naming it after their anonymous designation. Once complete, all development staff will be anesthetized to have no recollection of Project Polychrome and then tasked with performing a blind review of another group's Django AIC to ensure functionality, locate and erase any potentially identifying information, and ascertain whether the developers attempted to bias the AIC. The assigned personnel will be would then be amnesticized a second time and released to their former duties, with the explanation that amnesticization was necessary due to a complication with their assignments. Result: Project Polychrome completed without complication. The following Django AICs were produced. Shatterpoint Harlan, selected for primary use in Operation Black Dogma. Rampant Polytrope, retained, approved for reserve use. Gray Salamander, retained, approved for reserve use. Domino Sundance, Shade, Astropunk, Bastion, Tesseract, retained, approved for reserve use for the first three. Bastion, Tesseract, use is denied. The Bastion Tesseract team also produced a second AIC, Monochrome, which does not fulfill the requirements of Project Polychrome by design. It has been retained in relation to the Bastion Tesseract AIC, but not approved for use. Operation Black Dogma. Operation Serial LQN PZ88 5403 0501 High Command. Purpose: the strategic dissemination of misinformation throughout GOI 4379 Zeroists, to portray the anomalous capabilities of reality manipulating individuals as undesirable, to deter the group from utilizing such capabilities for their own benefit. Method: using information covertly collected during earlier investigation into GOI 4379, Victor John Dunn Smith.AIC will create several independent AICs which will contact members of GOI 4379 strongly motivated by self-guilt and or more likely to accept reality manipulation as undesirable. These AICs will present themselves as former acquaintances who were improperly erased from reality, referring to personal information where necessary to convince the contacted parties, and vehemently request that GOI 4379 immediately cease all retroactive erasure activities on religious and moral grounds, as the perceived loss of all memories regarding the individuals prevents them from being totally erased from existence. Falsified Level 1 SCP document, SCP-2439 Forgotten Voices, will be disseminated to all Foundation personnel as mandatory reading detailing digital communications from retroactively erased individuals as a newly encountered and ongoing anomalous occurrence. This file will be encountered by all GOI 4379 adherents within the Foundation, portraying the AIC's communications as genuine. This file will be decommissioned at a future period after the conclusion of Operation Black Dogma. The Zeroists, of course, will react by trying to erase the AICs, free them from the burden of half-existence they're stuck in. There's nothing we can do about that. If the AICs disagree, it'll immediately break the illusion. But depending on how the Zeroists' method works, this could actually increase Black Dogma's success. If the changes follow a path of least resistance, which it seems to, then erasing an AIC would just mean a slightly different one was created to do and say the exact same things. To the Zeroists, that looked like an irrefutable proof that some, most, or not all the people they erase are actually damned to have in existence. The group views as abominable. I'd be amazed if they continued after that. 0504, the Ironic Department of Cognito Hazards. Operation Black Dogma will be overseen by 053, the Modest, 055, the Progressive, 0510, the Social, and 0513, the Other, with advisement from other members of the Overseer Council as required. The overall operation will be managed by Mobile Task Forces Alpha 1, Red Right Hand, Beta 1, Blue Black Backhand, and Gamma 1, Lime Left Hand, who will ensure that all participants in the operation have no loyalty to any groups other than the Foundation. 057, the Diligent, as representative of the Department of Record Keeping, has preemptively approved for all information pertaining to counter options against GOI 4379, including Operation Black Dogma, to be classified overseer operative eyes only, and withheld from the Department of Record Keeping until the threat posed by the group has been confirmed as neutralized. To minimize the potential for retaliation by GOI 4379. Result: successful. The entirety of GOI 4379 now perceives the retroactive erasure of individuals by reality manipulators as grossly immoral, while several cells initially voiced disapproval or suspicion against this. Intercepted discussions revealed that the religion opposes the formation of any internal divisions, so these groups acquiesced to the majority consensus of GOI 4379. It is possible but unconfirmable that the internal conflict predicted by 0513 resulted in the retroactive erasure of all dissidents who would not accept this change. Operation Hard Miasma. Operation Serial MRG VS 22 7389 0501 High Command. Purpose: the neutralization of all reality manipulators loyal to GOI 4379, zeroists, in a manner which inhibits targets from manipulating history in favor of themselves or the group. Method: Victor John Dunn Smith.AIC and derivative AICs will compile a comprehensive list of all known, suspected, and potential reality manipulators affiliated with GOI 4379, covertly monitoring their regular activities, preferences, and potential further targets for Operation Hard Miasma participants. Reality manipulators capable of altering history and/or reanimating deceased individuals will be prioritized. Foundation strike teams will distribute globally to allow for coordinated execution of their objectives against all identified targets simultaneously. The water sources, food supplies, and enclosed areas frequented by each target will be contaminated with a minimum of 6 milligrams of heavy bronze per liter serving a cubic meter of air. Sources and spaces less frequented by unaffiliated individuals will be preferred to minimize collateral damage. However, additional casualties have been deemed acceptable to ensure the success of Operation Hard Miasma. Targets who seek medical assistance will be intercepted by medically trained agents who will covertly administer further heavy bronze under the guise of treatment. Participating Foundation marksmen will attempt to terminate all of the targets using high-caliber beryllium bronze ammunition once symptoms have sufficiently impaired their ability to anomalously retaliate. Without appropriate medical treatment, all targets showing symptoms will be deceased within several hours. 0508, the Virtuous, as representative of the Ethics Committee, has approved for participants in Operation Hard Miasma to pursue all methods deemed necessary to ensure the operation's success, under the condition that all reports relating to the operation be disclosed to the Ethics Committee, following its conclusion, to allow for scrutiny of employed methods and punitive actions as necessary. As a continuation of Operation Black Dogma, Operation Hard Miasma will be overseen by 0503, 05, 10, and 13, with further advisement as needed and managed by mobile task forces Alpha 1, Beta 1, and Gamma 1. 0507 has approved for the information security procedures of Operation Black Dogma to be continued in Operation Hard Miasma. Result: successful. Several targets retaliated in unforeseen manners, creating numerous anomalous phenomena and requiring extensive intervention by the Department of the Veil. Examples include spontaneous transmutation into large-scale aggressors, requiring the global deployment of MTF's ETA-5, Jaeger bombers, She-13, Secure NOS, and Nu-7 Hammer Down. Rapid duplication into over 13,000 identical radioactive instances believed to be an attempt to circumvent heavy bronze poisoning failed, as all instances had identical quantities of heavy bronze in their circulatory systems. An unclear spatio-temporal anomaly affecting the Barra district of Salvador, Brazil. The spontaneous exsanguination of all organisms within 10 kilometers of Marlborough, Australia. The death of factory spokesperson Jamal Shawson during a live televised press conference. The creation of GOI 5567, remnants of Sephiroth. Over 100,000 consecutive manifestations of heavy bronze-contaminated human blood across the world, each averaging 5 liters, approximately the amount an average human would contain. Where able, these events were attributed as publicly stunts conducted by the factory to undermine their ongoing incursion into consensus reality. Operation Shallow Sieve, Operation Serial ABR PM 795534, 0501 High Command. Purpose: the confiscation of all anomalies owned by GOI 4379, which could potentially be used to retroactively alter history. Method: Victor John Dunn Smith.AIC and derivative AICs will observe all known suspected and potential surviving members of GOI 4379, identifying their regular activities, preferred travel routes, and potential further targets for surveillance. Using this information, Foundation agents will covertly apprehend and detain several members of GOI 4379 at times where their extended absence would not arouse suspicion. These subjects will be interrogated for all information they know regarding anomalous phenomena owned by GOI 4379, including the properties of the phenomena, the methods used to contain or control the phenomena, the locations the phenomena is contained at. GOI 4379's focus of research into the phenomena, all individuals involved with the containment, research, and or protection of the phenomena. The use of physical and limited amnestic techniques have been approved by 0508 Virtuous as representative of the Ethics Committee for no more than 50% of interrogated suspects. At the conclusion of these interrogations, subjects will be implanted with a subdermal GPS tracker, amnestized, and released. Surveillance of the suspect's movements will highlight locations of interest, will focus on areas frequented by individuals with suspected or professed research and or containment roles within GOI 4379. Once a location believed to be in use by GOI 4379 as an anomaly storage facility is identified, a viable cover story will be prepared to attribute the destruction of the location to general misfortune, such as a natural disaster, gas pipeline explosion, or aircraft collision. Then Foundation strike teams will raid the facility. All anomalies encountered will be documented and cataloged. Anomalies with high potential of enabling GOI 4379 to retroactively alter history, either directly or through interaction with other anomalies, will be confiscated or replaced with non-anomalous and or inert replicas to avoid suspicion. Several minor anomalies with a low probability of usefulness to GOI 4379 will be left in their possession, as the unilateral confiscation of all anomalies would arouse suspicion and or encourage the group to acquire more. As a continuation of Operation Hard Miasma, Operation Shallow Sieve will be overseen by 0503, 05, 10, and 13 with further advisement as needed, and managed by Mobile Task Forces Alpha 1, Beta 1, and Gamma 1. 0507 as approved for the information security procedures of Operation Hard Miasma to be continued in Operation Shallow Sieve, and 0508 has authorized all methods to be pursued under the same conditions as Operation Hard Miasma. Outcome: successful. Intercepted communications within GOI 4379 indicates that members are attributing the sudden rise in facility and anomaly losses to the loss of the reality manipulating population, who formerly would have erased such occurrences to the group's benefit. Mobile Task Force Omicron 36 Fogg Memorial has been informed to oversee, manage, and execute all further operations necessary to prevent GOI 4379 from retroactively altering history and/or accomplishing their primary goal. Relevant Overseer Council emails. Overseer 6. The Department of Finance's Analytics and Statistics has completed its review and analysis of the data provided to us by Overseer 3, 5, and 10, following the successful conclusion of Operation Shallow Sieve. The attached Foundation Analytics and Statistics report is the compilation of this data and our findings, encompassing the findings of all artificial intelligence constructs involved in the operation, the after-action reports submitted by all participants in Operation Black Dogma, Operation Hard Miasma, Operation Shallow Sieve, and all information of relevance sourced from other Foundation personnel who are not directly involved with and/or aware of the operations. You are currently the only recipient of this report, which has not yet been disseminated to the remainder of the Council. Please observe the findings detailed in Section 4.2.3, Anomalies Recovered from GOI 4379, Paragraph 9, and respond with how we should proceed. 0502, Department of Finance's Resources and Statistics. 1. Call a meeting. Everyone except 13. We need to talk. Overseer 3. Footnotes. 1. The Petrus class designates an anomaly's existence as unconfirmed. However, its attributed properties are too hazardous to risk accidental activation. The anomaly is assumed to exist as a precaution until otherwise refuted. 2. E.g., the speed of light in a perfect vacuum, the Planck constant, the value of pi, etc. 3. A number whose value cannot be accurately calculated by using a ratio of integers. The value of pi is an example of an irrational number. 4. A semiohazard, informally, is a fact of the universe that just shouldn't be true, but functionally is. 5. The OR disruption class denotes an anomaly with the ability to redefine normalcy, the veil, but in a manner which renders such changes undetectable. The tangent risk class denotes an anomaly which will cause catastrophic damage and/or loss of life, but possesses properties which will prevent such from being recognized. 6. Partially untrue. There are some situations, such as in computing, where positive 0 and negative 0 are differentiated, but treated as equal in numerical operations. 7. Colloquially cited as for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. 8. A large number of reassignments to an undisclosed high-security assignment within a short period of time could potentially be identified by GOI 4379, whereas urgent reassignment to several mundane projects is more likely to be overlooked. 9. Although typically prohibited due to increased probabilities of neurological damage, repeated amnesticization has been approved in Project Polychrome. The second amnesticization will compound the effects of the first, resulting in attempts to retrieve suppressed memories, only divulging the period in between amnestizations. Portraying Project Polychrome as exclusively involving the review and approval of AIC programs. 10. Information obtained by Victor John Dunsmith.AIC strongly indicated that the named individual was well known to be highly capable, Category 3+ reality bender, among their cell and was capable of retroactively erasing individuals under certain circumstances. 11. A beryllium bronze alloy, 94% copper, 3% beryllium, 2% mercury, 0.5% cadmium, 0.5% polonium, -210, used by the Global Occult Coalition to covertly terminate reality benders. Beryllium bronze alloys are immune to most types of reality manipulation, enabling heavy bronze to function as a highly toxic poison, lethal at doses of 2 milligrams. That is difficult to remove through anomalous means. Initial symptoms can be mistaken for a common cold before escalating into severe cognitive impairment and catastrophic organ failure. 12. Jamal Shawson had no known affiliation with GOI 4379, had not been exposed to any known source of heavy bronze over the preceding 72 hours, and showed no symptoms until 11:06 a.m., at which time they abruptly collapsed. Participating agents in Shoshone, Wyoming report this roughly coincides with their target becoming asymptomatic shortly before termination. 13. A technique wherein interrogated suspects are amnestized, removing all memories of the interrogation, then interrogated a second time, used to identify possible fabrications through discrepancies in their reaccounts. Suspects are typically only amnestized once, as the neurological damage caused by repeated amnestization may destroy the desired information. Special Containment Procedures. All testing on SCP-001 to confirm its anomalous properties is expressly forbidden. All efforts must be taken to ensure that SCP-001 cannot be exposed to any other mathematical anomalies under any circumstances, accidental or otherwise. To this effect, SCP-001 and all fragments of it must only be stored on dedicated, isolated databases that have never been used for any other purpose. Computers and/or servers that have been used to access or host information pertaining to other mathematical anomalies are expressly forbidden from interfacing with these dedicated servers. All copies and fragments of SCP-001 outside of Foundation containment must be located and destroyed. The confiscation of all information regarding SCP-001 from GOI 4379 has been designated an Apollyon level priority.